From Caterpillars to Butterflies, Episode 12, 10 Truths No Matter Who's in the White House, plus a personal challenge.
Welcome to the From Caterpillars to Butterflies Personal Growth Podcast. Just like the caterpillar is destined to become a butterfly, you too are designed for a beautiful transformation. This is where you go to grow and transform your life. And now, here's your host, Certified Life Coach, Charlene Dior.
Hey there, welcome to the From Caterpillars to Butterflies Personal Growth Podcast. This is your host, Charlene Dior, where we're talking about all things personal growth. If it has the opportunity to grow you and transform your life, we cover it here on this podcast. And today I want to talk about 10 things that are true, 10 truths, no matter who's president, no matter who is in the White House. You can count on these things being true. And I wanted to have this discussion because President Trump was recently inaugurated into the White House, and there's just been a lot of craziness going on and a lot of division, just craziness. I don't even know what to say about it. So I just wanted to kind of have this conversation around things that are true, regardless of who is in the White House. And I know that we're up against a lot of high stakes things, you know, the Dakota pipeline and the Mexican wall. I mean, some of these things have huge implications. I know that and I acknowledge that. But I think when we're looking at our own personal lives and our own personal growth and the quality of the life we live, there are some things that we can hold on to, and it just doesn't matter who is in the White House. And so my purpose here, my idea is that you will walk away with a sense of newfound hope and empowerment, no matter what side of the aisle you sit on, that you can walk away from some of these truths with just more of a sense of empowerment for yourself and for your life, and knowing you're in control. So that's kind of the intention here behind this. My first truth is that we're all people first. When I'm reading some of the comments on Twitter or Facebook or news articles, it's always like liberals this or conservatives that, or I've read terminologies like snowflakes. And I'm like, what in the world is a snowflake? I didn't even know who it was referring to. I had to go look it up, you know, and we're talking about leotards or, you know, all kind of crazy things. And I'm thinking, like, no one has come out of the womb with a political affiliation. We're all human beings first, and we have gravitated towards certain political parties because of our beliefs and our views. But before we were separated, we were common. Before we were separated, we were the same thing. And I think that we lose sight of that the way that we start. I mean, it's almost like we're so attached to our political party that everybody else on the other side just doesn't exist. It's like we forget that we're all human first. You're just reading some of the insults and the craziness. And again, it doesn't even matter which side you sit on. You know, President Barack Obama was disrespected. He was called apes and monkeys and go back to Africa. And now we're calling President Trump a Cheeto. You know, and so it's like we forget that we're all human beings first. And no matter who's in the White House, you're still a human. Your neighbor is still a human being. Your church member is still a human being. Your coworker is still a human being. And your president is still a human being. And everybody else, unless they're not, they're still human. We're all still human. And that should connect us and unite us more than anything, to the point where we can not agree with each other's political views, but still agree with you as a human being and still relate and respect you as a person. The first thing that's always true, no matter who's in the White House, is that we are all people. The second thing that is true, no matter who is in the White House, is that your integrity matters. Your own personal integrity matters, and it sticks with you until you die. So the choices that you're making today, they represent who you are as a person. We don't get to say, I'm a really good person, but I do crappy things to Democrats, or I say crappy things about Republicans, right? Your integrity matters. I saw this quote, I don't know who it is attributed to, but integrity is choosing your thoughts and actions based on values rather than personal gain. We get to show our integrity. We get to show who we are as people by the way that we act and the things that we say and that we do. The President of the United States, whoever is in that office, doesn't give you a reason to lose your integrity, because your integrity will follow you beyond just the next 4 years or 8 years. There was an incident recently with Sean Spicer, and he kind of said things that weren't true about the inauguration, and then Kellyanne Conway comes in and says that those are just alternative facts. And it's like, look, your integrity goes with you. So when you leave this job, your integrity goes with you. And I see so many times that we're so short-sighted about all of these things that we don't realize that there's life after this. There's life after the next 4 years. And there's life after whatever role that you find yourself in. Your integrity matters. It matters. Don't lose it over one scenario or one president or one boss or one woman or one man. Your integrity matters. Keep it intact. The third truth that I have is that you don't have to defend yourself or anyone else. And this is a truth for myself as much as anyone. I find myself wanting to defend myself or defend President Barack Obama. I saw this stat that said it was a comparison of where blacks were before he took office and after he took office. And it was kind of looking at unemployment rates and food stamp utilization. And so it was kind of like this proof point of, how President Barack Obama was not advantageous to the black community. And I felt the need to jump in the conversation. Like, look, every black person's different. I bought multiple houses under President Barack Obama in my 20s, and not even saying that he helped me do it, but the truth of the matter is that there's an opposite side to every story. And so I felt the need to jump in and say, here's my stats. Why aren't you talking about these stats? But the truth of the matter is that I don't have to defend myself. I don't have to defend President Barack Obama. I don't have to defend President Trump. I don't have to defend anybody. I get to own my truth. And if I know my truth, then it doesn't matter who else knows it. And I don't have to, jump into any kind of war or debate or whatever to try to improve myself or prove anybody else. So you don't have to defend yourself or who you voted for or what you believe in or any of those other sorts. If you know who you are and you know that you have the best intentions and what you believe is true and you don't have any ulterior motives, you really just don't have to defend yourself. You get to sit and rest in the truth of who you are. Be open-minded, but you don't have to feel the need to constantly defend yourself. The fourth thing that I have for you, the fourth truth, is that you have a choice. You have a choice of how you feel. I saw somewhere where someone said that this is the first time in 8 years that they have had hope. And I thought, that is crazy. It is completely crazy if you're saying that you have not felt an ounce of hope in 8 years. You're giving the President of the United States too much control. You're over-empowering him. You get to decide if you're hopeful. You get to decide if you're happy. These are your choices. Hope is a positive expectation for something good to happen in the future. It is an expectation for a goal or a need to be met. So you can decide how you are going to feel about your own future. If you want to create hope, it's easy. Start a new goal. Take a new action. Enter into a school. I ordered some DVD tapes for Insanity some years ago, and I felt extremely hopeful when I pressed the submit button. They weren't even at my house, but I already felt the positive expectation of having met a goal. It has nothing to do with who's in the White House. You get to choose. You have a choice. You can create your own sources of hope. I think sometimes we think we're insulting other people when we say things like that, but you're insulting yourself because you have power. You're in control. My next truth is that you cannot make everyone happy. It is true regardless of who is in the White House. And so you for yourself cannot make everyone happy, but you also have to acknowledge that the president is not going to make everyone happy either. There are over 300 million people in this country. The president will not make all of them happy. You can look at it even on your state level or on your city level. Your elected politicians probably don't always make you happy either. Your husband or your wife doesn't always make you happy either. You can't make everyone happy. I know that looking at the Affordable Care Act, there are some people who are so for it. They say it saved their lives. It saved their children's life. They don't know what they would do without it. And then I saw a story of a woman who said, she has an illness that keeps her from working. She's married. Her husband has a job that does not offer spousal insurance. And so she applied for the Affordable Care Act, and she was excited about it at first, but she had to claim her husband's income because she's married. And because of his income, her premiums were so high. She said they were almost as high as her mortgage payment. And so that unique set of circumstances makes the Affordable Care Act unaffordable for her. If any of those three pieces were not true, if she was able to work, or if her husband's job offered spousal insurance, or if she wasn't married, it wouldn't be a problem. But those three things together created a situation where the government has made a decision that has had an adverse impact on her life. So the fact of the matter is that we can't depend on the president or Congress or the Senate or anyone to make us happy in every single situation, just like the people in our lives cannot depend on us to make them happy in every situation. And so it's a part of the thing that we have to learn to accept and to acknowledge and to do our own part. And I know it sounds easier said than done, because if someone said that for her unique situation, like an obvious solution would be for her husband to just change jobs with someone who does offer spousal insurance. And again, I know that is oversimplifying it, but people make tough decisions for their families all the time. My father was in the military and my parents got divorced, and my mother had 3 kids. And so she joined the military because she had 3 kids that she needed to provide for and have health care for. So sometimes we have to do our parts and make challenging decisions. Now, I don't want to seem like I'm attacking her or judging her. I just want to challenge everyone to think differently about what they can and can't do. Jack Canfield says that E plus R equals O. The event plus our responses equals the outcome. So we get to choose how we're going to respond to any given event. It's similar to the mortgage interest. So some people are experiencing higher mortgage payments than they would have if Donald Trump had continued the tax break that President Obama had put in place. And so, look, we can talk about it. We can get mad about it. We can do a ton of things, or we can just say, hey, so what am I going to do? If you're looking to buy a house, you could decide to buy a house that is a little bit lower in price than what you were originally planning to buy. You can cut your cable down. You can just suck it up and say, I'm just going to have to pay this extra fee, at least for the short term, right? And so we get to decide our responses. And sometimes it sucks. We have to do things that we don't want to do. Sometimes we'd rather keep things the same. But sometimes there are going to be choices that are made that just aren't in our favor. And we get to decide what we're going to do about that. The only thing constant is change. That is my 6th truth for you. The only thing constant is change. It reminds me of this book by Spencer Johnson. I had to read my first year in business school. Who Moved My Cheese? So Who Moved My Cheese is about 4 mice who are eating cheese in Station C, and then all the cheese gets depleted because they've been eating it all. And then Sniff and Scurry go off to scurry and sniff for some new cheese. But him and Haw. They stay at Station C, not having any cheese. And then they start to feel like a victim. They start to blame each other. It becomes a mess. But eventually, Haw, I think it was, decides that he's just going to take control and go and find some cheese. And he comes back to him and tries to show him some cheese and show him that there's more out there, and him is just being stubborn and just stays. And so Ha eventually makes it to Station Inn, where Sniff and Scurry found cheese at. But the point of this story is that, look, sometimes the government is going to move your cheese. Sometimes your spouse is going to move your cheese. Sometimes your boss is going to move your cheese. Your cheese is going to get moved. And you can hem and haw about it. You can feel like a victim about it. You can complain about it. Or you can just go find some new cheese. I'm not saying that it's going to be easy. I'm not saying that it's simple. I'm just saying that you have a choice. You have a choice on what you're going to do. And we have to acknowledge and accept that things always change. We can never get too comfortable. We can never feel like we can just rest on our laurels and life is just going to just be how it's always been. The only thing constant is change. And so we don't have to get surprised that something has changed. We just have to be willing to go find how to make ourselves whole again. When something changes and there is a space that is left behind, then we get to decide, how am I going to fill this space? How am I going to make myself whole again? And it doesn't matter who changed it. It doesn't matter who moved the cheese. If your cheese gets moved, you can sit and starve, or you can sniff and scurry and find some more cheese. My seventh truth for you is that you are the primary influencer of your own life. No matter who is in the White House, your quality of life is in your control for the most part. I read a story of they were asking people why they voted for President Trump, and one guy said that he voted for Trump because he wanted to start a business. He and his wife wanted to start a business, and they were hoping that President Trump would pass legislation that would make it easier for them to obtain a small business loan. Now, I think that's crazy. If you're waiting on a new president to enter the White House for you to start a business, that's crazy, and your business is probably not going to go very far. There are thousands of people who start businesses all the time without a small business loan. So we have to stop giving the president so much power. And I don't know if we're just making excuses or if we really believe those things, but who is in the White House does not impact whether or not you can start a business. You go start your business, okay? You just do it. You know, it reminds me of, I was watching this video of Gary Vaynerchuk, I think is how you say it. And this guy asked him about, what does he do? He wants to start a marijuana business in Texas, where I'm living, Texas. And it's not legal here. So he's asking Gary, what do I do? And Gary's like, look, move to Denver. Like, what a crazy question. It's not legal here yet. So you can sit here and cry about it, or you could just go where you need to go. We have the primary influence over our own lives. And sometimes we're sitting around and we're waiting for the wrong things. We're asking people the wrong questions because the answer's already there. If what you want to do is not legal in this state, you go to the state where it's legal. It's a no-brainer, right? You want to start a business? Tons of people start businesses by taking money out of their 401k. People take equity out of their homes. And I'm not saying that that's what you should do. I'm just saying that it's an option if you really wanted it. If you really wanted it, you wouldn't be waiting on who's the president. You and I are the primary influencers of our own lives. We get to call the shots. We don't have to wait for government policies to pass. We get to choose. My next truth is that there's no substitute for hard work. I was talking earlier about how people were saying President Obama didn't do a lot for Black America, but I was fine during his 8 years, and I'm confident that I'll be fine during Trump's 4 years as well. But I worked hard. I took risks. I put myself out there. I've invested. I put my money on the line. There's no substitute for hard work. It doesn't matter who's the president. You put in the work, and it's very likely that you're going to get the results out. Maybe not right away. And there might be things that happen that cause temporary setbacks. But in the long run, if you stick with it and you stay working, there's no substitute for it. Like, Donald Trump is not a substitute for hard work. Barack Obama is not a substitute for hard work. Insert name here is not a substitute for hard work. There's no substitute. You just have to do it. You just have to do it. And you have to stop waiting. You have to stop making excuses. You have to stop over-empowering the government and take back the control. My 9th truth is that you still have a voice. Things are going to happen that you are not going to agree with. And you still have a voice. And we're actually exercising our voice. There's been a lot of marches and people taking a stand. And no matter who's president, you still have a voice. And even sometimes when it feels like you kind of don't have a voice because the current president has asked people to not have a voice, but you still have a voice. You can still fight for what you believe in. You can make the changes that you can make based off of the other truths here that I'm telling you, that you have a choice, that you're the primary influencer of your own life. You can do those things while still fighting and still having a voice for what you really believe in and what you want to have happen next. Because some of the things that we're dealing with, they don't really affect our quality of life today, but they do in the future. I mean, I personally believe that climate change is real. And I'm of the thought process that if it's not real and we've spent time and money on it, what do we have to lose? I mean, of course, we've lost time and money, but we're not going to die. So we can still fight for what we believe in. If you really believe that we're going in the wrong direction with climate change, with the wall, with the Dakota pipeline, you still have a voice. If you think that your county is going the wrong direction, your city, your state, you still have a voice, and you can exercise that voice, and you can make your voice be heard. My last tip for you is that God is still in control. If you're a believer, if you believe in God and you have a spiritual or religious practice, you can know that God is always in control no matter who is president. I know it seems like in the short term that it's the worst thing that could ever have happened. But I think if you talk to people who are older and they've gone through many different presidents, they'll tell you that life still went on. And that's what I think that we have to know, is that God's in control. God, the Bible says, I've never seen the righteous forsaken or their seed begging for food. So God is still in control. He's still looking out for us. And we can trust and believe and stand on his word. So those are 10 things that are true. No matter who's in the White House, we can rest on those 10 truths. And it's empowering to know that we have a choice, that we have a voice, that our integrity matters. It's empowering to know that I'm the primary influencer of my own life. And I don't have to have disdain over the next 4 years. I don't have to shut down. I can still pursue everything in my dreams and still move forward. And with that, I'd like to leave you with a personal challenge, especially people who are thinking that the next 4 years are not going to fare well for them. I want to challenge you over the next 4 years to do everything in your power to make sure that your life is what you want it to be. I think when we can kind of see that we have more control over our lives than the president, then we can lead more fulfilling, meaningful lives. And so I'm challenging you over the next 4 years, whatever it is, you want to lose weight, I'm challenging you for 4 years to work on it, right? You want to start a business, I'm challenging you for 4 years to work on it, to stick with it for 4 years. No different than going to college and getting a 4-year degree. I'm challenging you to create your best life and to stick with it, even when it gets tough, even if something happens, if taxes get raised and now your discretionary income is down, or if you have to get a second job because of whatever, right? I'm just challenging you to do all that's within your power to make your life what you want it to be. And I can almost guarantee at the end of 4 years, no matter what policies come down from the White House, if you're committed to making sure that you're going in the right direction, you will have a greater influence, a far greater influence of your life and your family's life than what the President of the United States is going to have. So for 4 years, you're going to stick with your greatest dreams. You're going to keep working. You're going to stay focused. You're going to pretend like you're in college for 4 years, and you're just going to go for it. You're going to stick with it. And then January 20th, 2000 and what year will it be? 21? It's crazy. Then see where you are. See where you are. Are you up for the challenge? Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Charlene at FromCaterpillars2Butterflies.com. That is CHARLENE at FromCaterpillars2Butterflies.com. Let me know that you are up for the challenge of making sure that your life is moving in the direction that you want it to move in for the next 4 years, despite who is in the White House.
And now, a moment of meditation. If you're not driving, cooking, or doing anything that requires your full attention, take a deep breath and close your eyes as Charlene leads you into an inspiring meditation.
Take another deep breath in and exhale. It is January 20th, 2021. Where are you? What do you have? What do you do? See yourself there. How do you feel? Who do you love? How much money do you make? How's your health? What else do you see? What else do you feel? Where are you going? Who's there with you? See your biggest, brightest dreams. They've all come true. See yourself where you want to be. Feeling how you want to feel. Looking how you want to look. Loving how you want to love. Being who you want to be. On a count of 3, open your eyes. Feeling empowered and in control and committed to making the next 4 years amazing. 1, 2, 3. Open your eyes. Feeling committed, feeling focused, feeling confident and ready to make the next 4 years some of the best years of your life. January 20th, 2021 is going to be an amazing day, for you will have accomplished so much. Stick with it. Stick with it. Until next time, grow on purpose.
Thanks for listening to the From Caterpillars to Butterflies podcast, your one-stop shop for all things personal growth. For today's show notes and even more tools and resources to help you transform the life you have into the life you love, go to www.fromcaterpillarstobutterflies.com.